はい。じゃあ、Okay, so today we'll be returning to, well, let me share my screen. That would make sense because today we are back to our somewhat regular schedule. So I think the coming chapters, especially chapter 8, I want to take a little bit more time on that chapter. So we're probably going to spend a little bit more time than just 2 Sundays on this. Break that up a little bit further, give time to fully digest the concepts. It is an important chapter, not too much about because of the topic of barbecue, which is barbecue, but it introduces what Genki calls short forms. So right now we've dealt primarily with long forms, and there's a couple of usages of short forms. Today we'll look over at some of the so-called short forms that we've actually already seen in Yotsuba, for example, and we will only cover the so-called short forms for verbs right now. So ichidan doshi, very simple. Kodan doshi, we have to do a little bit of conjugation. And then, of course, there are also our irregular verbs. And then we'll go back to kanji. But today, after our last 2 review sessions, I feel that just to try to ease in a little bit. So I think there's only 4 or 5 kanji today that we'll introduce. However, we also have a tiny test. Don't freak out, just 4 questions in the JLPT kind of style. So we're going to spend some time on that as well. Okay, so let's get started. So today's date, remember how to say today is the 28th of March.
今日は3月に28日
Perfect. 今日は
です。
3月28日です。Perfect. Very good.
やった。
Hey. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a test. Just these 4 questions. So what is underlined here? So there's 4 questions. What's underlined? You essentially have to replace that either a combination of kanji and hiragana, or hiragana in question 4 with the appropriate answer choice. So A, B, C, or D. Just 4 of those. If you want to, you can write it down, your answer choices, take a note. Let's look over that for a minute or so, and you can just give me a hand signal when you're done with that, and we'll talk about that. Okay, はい、時間です。So, a little bit of a surprise test, of course. But hopefully one or the other at least looked familiar. So let's start with number one. Any takers?
D.
D, yeah, right. So this comes back to kunyomi onyomi, right? It is true that this kanji has the reading of tai, dai, but also o, which is the case here. It's okina hoteru ga arimasu. So for number one, it's actually a, like a large hotel exists, or the meaning here, oh, there's a big hotel, right? So chances are that when a single kanji is followed by hiragana, that we would use the kunyomi reading. Now, if this kanji would be paired with another kanji, of course, there are many, many exceptions. That's why kanji is so difficult in Japanese. But for example, the kanji for learning, right, for study, gaku, we would have daigaku, right? So the first one would be dai in this case. Yeah. Okay. So
Could you repeat that? If a single kanji is followed by hiragana, you often use the kunyomi?
yes.
Got it. Thank you.
And if the kanji is paired with another kanji, you'll often use onyomi readings.
Got it. Thank you.
But unfortunately, there are so many exceptions as well. So yeah, I can think of a few even with this kanji here. Okay, so number two. And here we can actually exclude two already, right? So we have a kanji, right? But then we also have a small tsu followed by te. So chances are that A and C are actually not possible, right? Because the kanji here really just replaces the hiragana. So that narrows down our choices to B or D.
I have B.
B, absolutely. So it's もう一度言ってください. Could you say that one more time, right? もう一度言ってください. Now, this, we talked about this kanji particularly in our last manga reading club a lot, right? It's often pronounced as you as well. So EU, which actually is the dictionary form or the short form, is often pronounced as you, but written it is the I. So もう一度言ってください is the proper writing here. はい. Very nice. Number three. So this is a fairly new kanji that we introduced, or we've learned a second, I think the week before we learned this one, right? Do you remember what this is?
I couldn't remember for the life of me. Like I recognize the second one as gun.
Yeah.
So if I had to take a guess, it'd be C.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's shimbun. Remember what shimbun means?
Newspaper.
Newspaper, yeah. New and listen. Did you hear the news? So, この新聞は ikura desu ka? How much is this newspaper? Very good. And then 4, we have kino, which we have only seen the kanji, but we haven't actually learned it yet. Of course, we know nichi or hi or ka or whatever, right? Yamada-san ni aimashita. So, 昨日 Yamada-san ni aimashita. A, B, C, or D?
B.
B, yes, correct. So A is kaimashita. B is aimashita. C is mimashita. And D, we'll actually learn today, is kimashita. This is the kanji for to come, right? So very good. Pachi, pachi, pachi. Well done, well done. Well done. Okay, here again, the slide. And so let's do a little bit of reading. So let's do the first dialogue of chapter 8, which is on Hyaku Hachijuroku page 186. And we have Yui-san and Takeshi-san.
Can do Yui, James.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Hold on, let me get to the page.
Yeah. Hyaku Hachijuroku page.
I finally got us separate books, and the life quality has shot up.
I'm glad.
35%.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad.
You ready?
Huh?
Okay. Takeshi-san, 明日みんなでバーベキュー、no.
バーベ
Oh, バーベキューをしませんか？
いいですね。誰が来ますか？
ノラさんとロベルトさんが来ます。メリーさんも来ろと思います。
ケンさんは
アルバイトがあると言っていました。
残念ですね。何か持っていきましょうか。
何もいら、wait. Yeah. 何もいらないと思います。
Well done. Takeshi-san, 明日みんなでバーベキューをしませんか？いいですね。誰が来ますか？ソラさんとおばあとさんが来ます。メリーさんも来ると思います。ケンさんはアルバイトがあると言っていました。残念ですね。何か持っていきましょうか？何もいらないと思います。はい。大丈夫。いいですね。So in this dialogue, we have a lot of many so-called short forms. However, and I think it's good to introduce the dialogue and we'll pick up again because there are some grammar forms that we'll look into more detail where the short form is used. However, today, what I want to do is just going back to Yotsuba, right? The short form there is actually more used in informal Japanese. This dialogue is still fairly formal, right? So short form does not necessarily mean informal, but what it actually means we'll discover today. So let me share my screen again. I'm going to look at some more slides. So the question now is, what the hell is a short form? So short form is a term that Genki uses, right? So we know the long form, according to Genki, is essentially the must form, right? We use this, we use must, right? So formal-ish, right? So first of all, the short form compared to the long form, well, it's shorter. So we have especially when it comes to verbs, right? So today is all about short forms when it comes to verbs, and they're just shorter, less characters, right? However, the short form that we've actually encountered so far through Yotsuba primarily, it really replaces the long form in informal Japanese. So you still have kind of the same structures, the overall structure of the sentence, right? It's just that instead of using the must form, you use what's the short form, right? So the good news ahead, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but we already know one important short form, which is the dictionary form. The dictionary form is essentially the non-past affirmative, and we look over that again in more detail. But there is some conjugation that we go into today. And this dialogue 1 of chapter 8, it's a good illustration how the short form is used more for complex sentences, both formal and informal. So for example, on line 3, Yui-san says in her second sentence on that line, Meri-san mo kuru to omoimasu. This means that I think that Mary will come. So we will not, and this is still formal Japanese because we have the must form at the end, right? But something else is happening there. So we're using the short form here differently. And we won't go into the details today, but this is coming maybe next week or the week after. So only because there's a short form in a sentence doesn't make it informal. It can be also used in more politer settings to convey complexer meanings, right? Because there's a difference between Meri-san wa kimasu, that's a statement, right? As for Meri-san, she will come, versus Meri-san mo also, or Meri-san wa kuru to omoimasu. I think Meri-san will come. So different meaning, and short form for that is also used, so super useful. So, and also for Genki purposes, unfortunately, the grammar point 1, which is essentially introduction to short forms. So it's actually not only verbs, but it also applies to adjectives and nouns. Once again, I take the liberty to kind of split that part a little bit up. So again, we'll be talking exclusively about short forms when it comes to verbs today. So how do we conjugate, or how do we use the short form? So let's look at ichidan doshi, right? Ichidan doshi is something like taberu, right? What Genki calls ru verbs, right? So we know the dictionary form, we have always the stem for taberu, right? The stem is tabe. The ru drops. If you want to make it into the mas form, we just use the stem tabe and use mas, right? There's going to be homework as well that's assigned that uses short form, and there's also you still remember the te form, please conjugate that as well. For ichidan doshi, always use the stem and then add whatever you need to add, right? So for the te form in ichidan doshi, it's just tabe te, right? So that's why this is so convenient. That's the core of ichidan doshi, use the stem and then this suffix. So for the affirmative, however, for the non-past, so present or future, right? So Genki calls this present, right? But we stick with non-past. We just use the dictionary form and we're done. For the negative, what we do is for ichidan doshi, we drop the final ru, right, in its dictionary form, and add nai. So for taberu, it would be tabenai, right? So this is essentially the formula, and we'll go over some, again, one example, but this is essentially the formula. Non-past affirmative short form, just use the dictionary form that you already know, right? And for the negative, we drop the final u and add nai. And the meaning is the same, right? Compare that to the must form, right? Tabe must, right? Non-past affirmative. Now it's formal, right? Has roughly the same, or like factually the same meaning as taberu, to eat, right? If used in isolation, just because you can create a complete sentence by just using a verb. That's also true for the short form, right? So if I say taberu, I say informally, yeah, I eat, right? If I say tabenai, like, oh, I won't eat that, or I'm not eating, right? So same usage in a sense. So on pairs short form, taberu, again, use the dictionary form. We know it is taberu. We're done, right? For the negative, drop the final u and add nai. So this becomes tabenai. And so very simple for u verbs.
Is an easy way to think of short form as, you said it's not exactly informal, but it is informal?
Yeah, so yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So if, because the short form has many different usages. For example, the example that I gave earlier, me-san mo kuru to omoimasu, from the dialogue, right? We use the short form here of kimasu, which is kuru, right? But I can also say, James-san wa sushi o tabenai to omoimasu, right? I say still politely, because I use the must form, but I use the short form here to say, oh, I don't think James is eating sushi, right? I'm using the short form here, and then and use to omoimasu. So short form is not exclusively used. The usage of a short form does not mean that your whole sentence is necessarily informal. However, if you just use the verb by itself, like tabenai, like I won't eat, right? So that is informal. Or I can ask, oh, kohi o nomu, do you drink coffee? That's informal. But if I say, James-san wa ocha o nomu to oimasu, I say, oh, I think James is drinking tea. And I would use still the short form nomu, which we haven't covered yet, sorry, gomenna. But I use that to indicate what I think you drink.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Just to be sure that I understand. So using short form subliminally is saying that you're not making it like a 110% statement, that your statement can be corrected, because you're saying, I think that James is drinking tea, or I think that James is drinking coffee. But if you said he is, like, then it'll be like, you use like the formal long form, then that's like a definitive statement, like, you know that he's drinking coffee. Is that right?
That too, yeah. I think
Okay.
I complicated things more at this point.
Okay.
But it'll be all very clear. So right
Okay,
now,
got it.
right? So if I just use the short form, and we go ahead to that, we're gonna do some exercises. Yeah.
So one of them invites somebody to correct you.
Yes. If I use like the to omoimasu, right?
Cool.
Yeah, which we actually won't cover today. Maybe we should. Okay, so let's stick for the conjugation right now, and then afterwards, so kind of let's try to learn the rules and then gradually explore some of the use cases. Okay, but so for ichidan doshi, how to conjugate non-past, both affirmative and negative, is clear?
Both of these are non-past.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we will actually only cover non-past today as well.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, so for godan doshi, it's a little bit more complicated, but good news, affirmative also is dictionary form, like nomu, for example, right? Oh, kohi o nomu, do you drink coffee? Informal, right? Kohi o nomu. So use the dictionary form. Very easy, right? And we saw that in Yotsuba also quite a bit. So that's the easy part. For the negative, again, non-past, short form. This applies to godan doshi. So what Genki calls verbs. Change the last syllable of the verb in its dictionary form to the a row and attach nai. So what that means. Let me give you a description of how I would use that for the must form, right? Because for the must form, I changed the last syllable of the verb in its dictionary form to the e row, right? And then I would attach must for example, to drink, right? I know nomu, but if I want to do if I want to conjugate that to the must form, I have mu, and I would change that to the e row, which is me, and then I would attach must, so nomi must. So for nomu, to conjugate into the non-past negative short form, I have my nomu dictionary form, and now I change the mu into its equivalent a, right? So noma, and then I attach nai. So nomu becomes nomanai.
So for kiku, it'd be kikanai.
Hi.
Got it. Okay.
Pachi pachi. Very good. All right. So and this so yomu to read, right? Yomu, non-past short form affirmative. Just use the dictionary form, which is yomu, right? Ah, Yotsuba or yomu. Do you read Yotsuba? And if I didn't, right? Again, change the last syllable of the verb in its dictionary form to the a row and attach nai. So if I say, yeah, I don't read it, I can just say yomanai. Yomanai. I don't read it. I won't read it.
I see. So you're literally saying the mu changes to a ma.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So and then so this applies to all godan doshi. Remember, kaeru, for example, to return is a godan doshi as well, right? So there it would be
Eranai.
kaeranai. Very good. You got it. So always last syllable and put that into its a equivalent and then attach nai. Very good. So, and then we have, of course, our irregular verbs. And usually there's only two irregular verbs, right? Which is suru and ku. But here we also have a third one, which is au. So au is not aranai, it's just nai. So that's an exception as well. So we have su, which is shinai, we have ku, which is konai. Again, the kanji stays the same, which we learned today. And finally, aru, which is night. Shitsumon ga arimasu ka? Question.
I'm just trying to remember it is all.
Okay. So let me go. So again, for ichidan doshi, just use the dictionary form for the affirmative, right? So that is the same for ichidan doshi and godan doshi in the affirmative, non-passive affirmative, just use the dictionary form. And then for ichidan doshi, to use the negative, we drop the final u and attach nai. For godan doshi, again, affirmative, use the dictionary form. And then for the negative, change the last syllable to the a row, and then attach nai. And then we have our irregular verbs, suru, which is, so these are all also dictionary form, of course, right? Suru, go, ao, equivalent to the affirmative. So suru is shinai in the negative, non-past short form. Kuru is konai, and aru is night.
Question.
Hi.
So aru is considered an irregular verb, but iru is not.
Yeah. So iru would be actually inai.
Inai.
Because
Got
it's
it.
yeah. So that good question. So you ichidan doshi, right? So drop the u and then attach nai. So inai. Yeah. For this, when it comes to, so aru technically is not considered a regular verb, but here it is because it conjugates differently, unfortunately.
Got it.
Right. And that's only the negative actually. Okay. Wonderful. So let's try that. Let's do an exercise. 198 page. So page 198. Is it okay if I unshare the screen? Okay. I can see your beautiful faces on the screen. And so on page 198, Roman numeral 1, short forms. Let's just do A. So it's change the affirmatives into negatives. Our example, kaku, right? You know, it's a godan doshi. So we change, which is actually this example that Katya-san gave, right? Change the ku to ka, and then attach nai. So kaku becomes kakanai. So let's start with ichiban, miru.
So you'd have for affirmative miru, and then for the negative mirunai.
Is miru a ichidan doshi or godan doshi?
Based off of your response, it is the second one. So miranai.
Oh, really?
Just the fact that you're asking me makes me assume that I did it wrong.
What did you say first? Maybe I just did not hear
So
it right.
miru
Uh-huh.
and minai.
Yeah. Sorry,
Oh, okay.
My headphones inserted sound in there as well.
Oh,
No,
maybe
you're right.
Okay.
It
Maybe
is
I said it wrong and then you panicked me. So minai, because you're supposed to drop the ru if it's a ru verb.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Ichidan doshi, right? We have mu and then minai. Very good. Hai, 2番, James-san, akeru.
Okay, so akeru, let me look at the rules. Akeru, so affirmative is just akeru. Negative is ake. Oh, sorry, hold on. Drop the ru, add the nai. So ake nai.
Very good. Akenai. Hai, 3番, sumu.
sumanai would be the negative,
Sumanai.
and then sumu would be the positive.
Very good. はい。4番、かける。
Kakeru turns into, well, kakeru is the affirmative. Negative would be kakenai.
はい。かけない。Very good. 5番、はく。
So it'd be haku for positive, and then hakanai for negative.
はい。6番、始める。
Hajimeru is the affirmative, and hajime nai is the negative.
Very good. はい。つく。
Tsukumu is the positive, and
すみません。つく。
tsukuru.
はい。
Tsukuru is the positive, and then it's ichidan doshi. So tsukunai.
So
Is it godon doshi?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. So then it'd be tsukuranai.
Yeah, remember that Ichidan Doshi, again, so this cannot be Ichidan Doshi because even though Genki calls it rule verbs, right, it's actually iru or eru that have to, so there has to be some variation of an e syllable or a syllable, and here it's a u syllable, the ku, so that cannot be Ichidan Doshi by itself.
So ichidan doshi has to have an e or an s sound before it, typically.
Yeah. So for example,
Okay, that's helpful.
Haji meru, right? So haji maru, which is actually similar, a similar verb, right? That is a godan doshi, and you can exclude it from the. So it doesn't qualify as a ichidan doshi because it has ma, it has an a, not the transitive equivalent, which is haji meru. So yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
はい。OK。8番、選択する。
8番、選択する. So that means there's no iru or eru, so it's a godan doshi. And
選択. Do you know what 選択 is?
no.
It's a laundry.
So
Yeah.
this is a suru situation.
Oh, I see. I see.
So since it's suru, do you treat it like an irregular verb then?
Yes.
I forgot. So it would be. Oh, do we learn how to do? Oh, yeah, right here. So irregular is going to be sentaku suru is affirmative. Sentaku shinai is the negative.
はい。選択しない. Very good. Yeah, and that was brand new vocabulary. It was just introduced in chapter 8 under irregular verbs because it's a suru verb. はい。9番。洗う.
So this is arau for positive, and the negative is aranai.
Okay.
Ara.
すみません. There is one. I should have put that on the slides. Go, man. Okay, so for
more rules.
Yes, more rules. So yeah, you might want to write that down because that's not part of the slides. So I'll make a note to kind of fix that. I haven't thought of that. So because what happens is that if you have a verb that ends in u, just in u, not like ku, gu, mu, etc., just in a u, the rule says to change it to the equivalent a, right? To the equivalent a. So for u, it would be a, but it's actually wa and not the topic marking particle ha, but the actual hiragana wa, which we rarely write. Remember how to write that? It's so seldom. I probably should.
It's like a ne with like a swoop.
Yeah, let me show that real quick. Right. So you have right, this one. Yeah, we don't see it that often. So I thought it would be good to write it down.
So then it would be arau and arawanai.
Hai. Perfect.
Got it.
Arawanai. Hai. 10番, we have kuru, which is an irregular verb.
So kudu affirmative will just be kudu. Negative will be, this one has exception. Is that konai?
Hai, it is konai. Very good. Hai. 11番, wasureru.
So this is going to be ichiran doshi. So wasureru and then wasure nai.
Hai, wasurenai. Very good. Hai. 12番, again, irregular. Well, not really a irregular verb, but it's an exception here. So we have aru.
Aru. So I think this is just gonna be Gorandoshi rules.
Unfortunately not. It is a godandoshi, but there's an exception. So it's actually, I listed it under irregular.
Oh, okay. So the affirmative, I see it. Aru will just be affirmative, and then negative will just be nai.
Correct. Yes, we have aru, and as an exception, even though it's a godandoshi, we have nai. Right? 13番, we have omo, which is also a new verb, which means to think, right? We had it in the dialogue as something omoimasu, which is of course the must form or long form. So what is its negative non-past short form?
So you have omou and then omowanai.
Very good. Thank you for your flexibility. Yeah, I was not thinking of that. It was like, oh yeah, just change it to the arrow, right? And then I was thinking of a couple of course, verbs, but then it's like, oh, there's arau.
Do you need to make a note on your slides before you forget?
Yeah, I have to see how I'm gonna put that there. I put a note just here on a piece of paper. So
nice.
Yeah, I gotta fix that.
Well, English comparatively is far more complicated. So
oh yeah.
I have no complaints.
Yeah, I did a mini lesson yesterday. There was a family gathering, and my brother-in-law was asking, "It's like, oh, how's your Japanese going?" It's like, well, I'm teaching some fundamentals right now. So, and then I told him, because he had interest a long time ago in learning languages as well. So it's like, because he's not so he's from Mexico as well, and so was talking about his struggles with verbs, and it's like, actually in Japanese it's very easy. You have only 2 irregular verbs. Well, plus a couple of exceptions here and there, but yeah. Next we have motte iku. So we have a te form of motsu, right? Which we can ignore, and we can conjugate iku. So motte iku becomes
Moteiku becomes so I think Moteiku will just be Gorandoshi. So Modaniku, Moteiku will just be, I have to use the dictionary form. So just be moteiku for affirmative, and negative to moteikanai.
Very good. Motti kanai. Very good. Next we have 15번 hairu.
So it'd be hairu and then hainai.
Unfortunately, because yeah, it looks like a ichidandoshi, but it's not, because
But you said I or e.
that is a qualifier. That doesn't mean that it's
Okay.
more of a, because remember what is the must form of hairu? Remember that one? Hairimas, right? We have hairimas.
Oh, that's right.
So would it be a ichidan doshi? Then the must form would be haimas, right? But it's
Right.
hairimas, and sometimes I only point that out because sometimes we know the must form and the dictionary form, and then based on that, it's like, oh well, you know, even though it ends with ru or iru, it's actually cannot be a godan doshi because the must form, you know, I just don't use what comes before the ru and then attach mas. No, the ru I change to ri, right? And based on that, you know, oh, it's actually godan doshi. So the short form non-past negative of hairu would be what?
So it'd be hairanai.
Very good, hairanai. Hai. And then finally we have kaeru, the to return.
Kaeru. That'll be kaeru for affirmative, and kaenai for negative.
Ichidan
No?
doshi or godan doshi?
I thought this was ichidan doshi.
What is the
It
must
is.
form of kaeru?
Kaimas.
Yes and no, but not the to return, the one that we learned.
Kairi.
Kairimas, right? Like ashita kairimas, tomorrow I'll return, right? It wouldn't be kaimas, a different word. So it is actually a godan doshi.
Oh.
So the short form non-past negative of kaeru is what?
Kai. Hold on, I got this. Kairanai.
Very good. Kairanai. Very good. Hai. So that's pretty, yeah, you got it, right? There's some gotchas here and there. What is ichidan doshi? What is a godan doshi, right? I think that'll improve just over time, using the language, reading, etc. You know, all what you've been doing. So great. So I guess another good exercise actually too. So we know how to conjugate it, right? And I alluded to and again, this is based on Genki's desire to really speak formally, right? But our first exposure to the short form was really through Yotsuba, right? And let me actually get that. Just for example, just let's see, try and go to that. Oh, I put the one page where Yotsuba is actually formal. I opened that one. Like toire ni ittekimasu.
Classic.
Classic Yotsuba-chan. There's so many examples, but yeah, remember the kura, where Yotsuba-chan thought it was winter in Asagi's room, right? It's like, oh, tsumetai kaze ga deteku. So a cold wind is coming out, right? So that is one usage of the short form, right? We just use the short form of a verb, and that is informal speech, right? she could have said, sumitai kaze ga dete kimasu, right? She could use that. But by using deteku, it's just a little bit more, it is more informal, right? Or less formal. So that is one usage of the short form. So on the same page, 198 page, right, we have exercise 2A, informal speech, so Roman numeral 2, informal speech. And for A, it says, answer the following questions in informal speech, first in the affirmative, then in the negative. So we have an example here, a question. Yoku sakana o taberu, like, do you often eat fish, right? I could ask yoku o sakana, make it even more polite, right? O tabemasu ka, right? But here, first of all, the question marking particle ka is dropped, which is often the case in informal speech, and you have a change in intonation, a change in pitch, right? Rising pitch to indicate a question. And then you also use the dictionary form, or rather the short form. Short form, I should say short form, right? Same meaning, nothing changes in terms of meaning. It is just a different form of politeness or formality, right? And then you can answer taberu, like even less formal than or more formal would be hai, right? So just means yes. Taberu, yeah, I often eat fish, right? Taberu. Or like this little wave, like no, iya, right? Tabenai. I'm using the non-past short negative to indicate that I don't eat fish often, right? So let's use this exercise to become more familiar in using the short form when it comes to informal speech, really similar to what we've been reading all along in Yotsuba for the most case, right? So one of you will ask the question, which seems to be already, you can just read it off, right? And then your partner will answer. And then actually, for practice sake, let's repeat the same question, right? So ask each other the same question, and then we move on to the next part. Hai, dozo.
James, do you want to ask first and I'll answer first?
Okay, we're doing exercise 2.
2A?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, kyo benkyou hold on. Benkyou suru.
はい。今日私は勉強する。
So that works. And you said hi, which is fine. You can say or
yeah.
Right? Often also in informal speech, you can, because you're already the topic here, right? So you don't even have to say watashi wa. In informal speech, also remember early on we had the different pronouns, right? Of formality. So you can keep on saying watashi. I use that also a lot. You can use one of the other forms like atashi, right? Jameson might could use boku if he would refer to himself, or even ore. And again, it depends on like how close you are to each other, right? But you can say like thank you, suit, for example.
Hey, got it. So 勉強する。はい。今日勉強する。 James? 勉強する?
勉強する。Hang on, let me look at.
いい学生ですね。
That is right?
I hope so.
I mean, that's what we're doing right now.
勉強する. Yeah. Yeah, that's the
Hi.
right way to say it.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'll study. Hi.
All right, I'll go next. 今日友達に会う?
So this one will be that exception. It'll be oh, sorry. It'll just be ow, I think. For positive.
Oh.
Nice.
Wait, who are you gonna see today?
No, I just did exercise.
Oh.
So how would you say, I wouldn't, I'm not going to meet?
Let's say, is there another noise for negative?
Yeah. Why don't you ask me the question and then I'll answer it.
Okay. 今日友達に会う?
How would you say it in response no? Just
like,
it would be 友達にない.
Oh, out? Not out.
Oh.
Out.
Isn't it nai?
Yep. Out is to meet.
But isn't, well, oh. Awanai.
Hi. Very good. So the exception, the I guess third irregular verb was agu, right? Agu and I. Like for example, Jameson no machi ni wa hoteru ga aru, right? I was like, nai. Nai. There is no hotel in my town. Nai.
I think I just had the wrong verbs.
はい、そうですね。はい。じゃあ次は
Okay. よくお茶を飲む.
Nomi. Wait. Yeah. Nomi? Nomu? Nomu? Nomu.
はい、飲む。Dictionary form.
Right. よくお茶を飲む?
No. Hold on. No manai.
So, no manai. No, I don't.
No manai.
I'm sure my Zoom audio cuts that out or something like that. I need to. But it's like, kind of like a little wave. You go up and down a little bit. So yeah, versus which is yes, hi, right? It's kind of similar like yeah, similarly, right? It's a little longer and there's a little bit of pitch shifting, but
okay.
I
understand.
Hi.
よく電車に乗る?
電車ね。
電車?
電車.
Oh, that's a yeah,
train.
sorry.
はい。
Noru. Does that mean to ride?
Correct. Do you often ride the train?
So that one would be it would be going on. So it'd be no nora nai.
Hi, very good.
Yoku densha ni noru.
Yoranai.
No, ganai. Yep. No such thing as a working public transportation system plus pandemic and stuff.
Oh my God, could you imagine though?
Oh gosh.
In LA, and I'm trying to imagine places like Paris where their ventilation is really bad.
Yeah.
Although their metro system slaps. It's like really, really nice city to take the metro. Sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
Next one.
パリに行きたいです。
So, 毎日、日本語を話す。
See, 毎日日本語を話す. So that would be. It ends in su. Hanasu. How would you? Does it count as one of those? No, it doesn't.
It's an U verb.
So we have su, right? We have sa, shi, su, se, so.
Okay, okay.
You're gonna roll.
Okay, so this would be. Hanasu. For affirmative? Is that right?
話す。Oh, 本当ですか? いいですね。
Okay, so 毎日に日本語を話す?
毎日 without me.
Oh, sorry.
はい。あ、大丈夫。毎日日本語を話す。はい。
Okay. So, Katya-san, 毎日に日本語を話す?
The knee is, again, did you notice there you slipped another knee in there? So
I was asking the question for Katya to respond negatively.
Yeah, but you said again, mainichi ni nihongo. So it's just mainichi. It sounds more natural. So mainichi does not, even though it's the time reference, it usually does not take the ni particle. Just like kyo, right? Did you notice?
I'm subconsciously doing it.
Oh yeah, I used to do it all the time as well. So that's why I'm picking on you right now. So もう一度お願いします。
Okay. 毎日日本語を話す.
Truthfully, I do, but I'm gonna try it in the negative form. So, hanasanai.
話さない。
right?
本当ですか?
Yeah.
いいですね。
I just really wanted to try it in a different form.
はい、話す、話さない。Very good.
All right. My turn, right? 毎日お風呂に入る。
お風呂に入る.
わかりますか? お風呂に入る?
No.
お風呂 is a bath. So to enter a bath. So to take a bath.
Daily. Okay. So, お風呂に入 はいない
五段動詞
Okay, so 入らない入ら
Very
ない
good. Very good. はい。Just to clarify, お風呂に入る is different than taking a shower.
かてさん毎日お風呂に入る
うん。入る。Sorry,
Suki.
did not work?
お風呂
Okay. Oh, we have
はい
more. Oh, I understand. Okay. Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
7番
I think that's James.
Oh 明日大学に来る
うん。来ない。
はい。来ない。
明日、大学に来る
うん来る
今日、宿題がある
宿題がある
宿題 mean again?
Homework.
Oh right ある So it'll be あらない
Exception. すみません。
oh sorry okay so it'll be
But you would be right if it wasn't an exception. Because it
Okay.
is a good andoji. But it's
Okay,
an
so-
exception.
so this will be oh sorry it's ない
Correct. Night.
ない今日宿題がある
ある。I'm pretty sure. We'll have it.
Yeah.
So, ある。
じゃあ、9番。
G 自転車を持っている
That's bicycle, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. いらないいない
Inai. But here it's actually motte inai because
もっといない
motte
because
inai.
it's all together.
Yeah, because motte iru means to hold and still hold it. So it's essentially asking, do you have one, right? So you can say motte inai, or you can also answer jitensha ga nai. Like, no, there's no bicycle. You can use, because existence for objects, we use aru, right? And then you could also answer like jitensha ga nai. But yeah, for this exercise, it would be good to say, yeah, 持っていない or 持っている。はい。でも、ジェームさんは、ジェームさん、自転車を持っている
I think Kato was speaking, but she was on mute.
I was on mute. Sorry. So, 自転車を持っている
いる
持っている
持っている
うん。 Yeah, because motiru together means to have, right? If you say iru, that would mean that your bicycle, even though you might have a special relationship to it, is a living thing, right? But it's or a animate thing, right? But it does not qualify as such because you're making it move, right? So really motiru together. And I guess that is something that I can see. So there's an argument for Genki to kind of treat these combination of verbs as just one verb, because motiru just means to have in terms of Genki, right? It's listed as its own verb. And I think this is actually an argument that you can list it as such, because then if you think of it that way, you're more likely to say, motiru, right? But it's really te form of one verb plus another verb. But but here, this combination really makes up one verb in terms of English, right? To say to have, even though it's te form plus result of change. So make sure to use the whole, I guess what Genki calls verb. So, motiru. はい。次、10番。
来週、カラオケに行く。
行かない。
Very good.
来週カラオケに行く？
行く。
アクレツコとカラオケに行く。
What?
アクレツコとカラオケに行く。アクレツコ知りませんか？
Agrasuko? I don't think James knows what Agrasuko is. It's a Sanrio character that okay, so the long story short is it's a Sanrio character that's like really cute and cuddly, and she's an office worker, and then when she goes to karaoke, she's like only doing metal songs. And so like Agrasuko, like aggressive. So like on the outside she's like sweet and cuddly, but on the inside she's like baby metal, basically.
That's funny.
Yeah. It's on Netflix.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen the most recent season fully yet, but it's nice. It's nice. Hey.
Agrasuko is like super popular in Japan right now, or at least it has been. I don't know if not so much anymore, but when she first came out, everybody was like obsessed with her.
Well, yeah, I'm sure, because it speaks to the whole concept of tatemae, kind of having like this front, exactly what the show is about, right? Because she's holding back quite a bit of emotions and letting them out elsewhere. So I can see why it's popular. Yeah, so social context matters big time. Hey.
Okay, I think it's my turn.
Hey.
Even though we switched, I think. もう一生、部屋を掃除する。
So this is going to be する. Or I can say 掃除する. What does this sentence mean? Something about your house or your room?
Yeah, room. So room is heya is room, right? Maishu is do you know maishu?
No.
We know mainichi, right? Mainichi is every day. So the mai in maishu is the same mai as in mainichi. And shu, like kon. So do you remember shumatsu?
Shumatsu.
Mm-hmm.
I know the word, but I don't know the meaning.
Okay. Do we know konshu or raishu?
Yeah, I looked it up, but I forgot it.
Isn't it months?
That's Gatsutsuki,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, shu
Year?
is that's
Week?
Nen. Toshi. Yeah, week.
It's
So,
week.
yeah, so my shu is every week, right? Heya is room, and you do something to the room, right? Because it's followed by the direct object particle o. And then we have soji su. So soji is some form of noun because suru is to do. Soji, I think it's newly introduced, but soji means like cleaning, also sweeping, right? So the meaning of the sentence is what? 毎週部屋を掃除する.
Do you clean your room weekly?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For every week. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to answer affirmatively, you'd say soji suru.
Su or soji su. Yeah, both fine. Great.
カテさん、毎週部屋を掃除する
Soji shinai.
Looks clean to me. Soji shinai. はい。
ダメ。
just for the exercise, of course. はい。次。
毎日、洗濯する。
はい。
毎日洗濯する。So this one would be, I could say, しない。しない。That's, we just talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
洗濯。
I had to look this verb up.
はい。どうぞ。
The verb is laundry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
to do laundry.
Right.
はい。
Yeah, so this would be 洗濯しない。
はい。私も。
本当
はい。毎日、洗濯します。
カテさん、毎日洗濯する
洗濯をする。
すごいですね。はい。じゃあ、very good. All right. So that's one of the use cases of the short form, right? Informal speech. Like I said, there's more short form to come. There's so-called short forms. And when it comes to adjectives and nouns, we'll explore that as well. But there are more interesting usages of short form, even in polite speech or informal speech, doesn't matter. But you can use the short form to make more complex sentences as examples like, oh, I think he or she does this, right? So, and uses short form for that. But we'll do that next week. So right now, let's explore some kanji. So I'm gonna share my screen again. And So first we have Rai and on Yomi reading, and Kuru or Ki or Ko. So this part, sorry, it's just the Ku is in Kuru, right? To come. But it also has, we don't know how to write it yet, but for example, next year, like Rainen, right? So then this kanji is Rai for next. But we'll see it most often as Ku, also Kimas, Konai, etc., right? So let me switch cameras to the whiteboard. And I'm gonna write this on here. Oh, I'm doing this again. I'm putting markers all over the place. Okay.
Mateus,
Hi.
could you please switch your screen order? Because right now we have the slide in large and then the camera in little. Can we swap that?
Sure.
Or split it? Like either way. It's just so small. I can't really see it.
Hi. Let me do that. I haven't set it up yet, but I should do that. 1 second.
Come in.
Yeah. I actually had to plan anyway. I thought, let's see the next week or so, but I should do that now. Okay. There we go. Okay. I should have put that in yeah, totally unprepared here. 1 second. Actually. There we go. 1 second. Ha. There it is. Does this work? And I'm gonna.
No, this is great.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try this. Okay. I'm still working on my setup and all. Oh, wrong marker. So something like that, right? So who? Right? So that's 1. Okay. Then, but we also learned, of course, we know kimas, right? And this kanji has the reading of ki, right? And finally, since we learned it today, for konai, the short form, the non-past negative, same kanji. But then it has the reading of konai. Hey, 大丈夫ですか?
はい。
はい。はい、次は ame. Also used in suyu for the rainy season, then it's u. We actually learned this as part of Genki, which is, so we have the rain as the top part, right? So this is ame. Ame. And remember when I said that often if you have two kanji together, you use the onyomi reading? Well, unfortunately, heavy rain, which is o ame, is the kunyomi reading of ame is still being used. So o ame means heavy rain. Gomen ne. Hai. Next one, okay? Hai. Okay, next one, we have tomodachi, right? Or, well, just tomo, or you. So, and if you remember, I hesitated last week to when we did the review. I wasn't sure if we already learned the kanji, and then actually I was sure that the dachi part of tomodachi, we certainly have not learned the kanji yet. So anyway, tomodachi. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the dachi and tomodachi, so this is tomo, right? And in dachi, there's a kanji for it, but in Genki actually, and actually also in a lot of literature, we have tomodachi, the dachi part in hiragana, which just means friend, right? However, there's another word for friend, which I feel is a little bit more age appropriate for myself. That's what I've been telling myself, because there's another word for friend, which is yujin. So we know this one, right? So this is yu. Jin, this also means friend. It's also a lot faster to write in kanji than tomodachi, or even tomo in kanji and then the dachi in hiragana. And this also means friend. It's maybe has a little bit more formality. So it doesn't mean that the relationship to your friend is different, whether you use yujin or tomodachi. It has the same level of closeness. It's just that towards your audience, you're a little bit more formal. Yeah, I like to use yujin, especially in written Japanese, over tomodachi. Hi. And then let's see, we might have one more. Yes. Final one is kaku, or sho, as in toshokan, library, right? Kaku meaning write. It's also used often, of course, in any type of document. So there will be a lot more words that we'll learn using this kanji. But for now, kaku is certainly the one that we should be learning. But is this longer? Yeah, it is. Sure. Something like that. The proportions are a little off, but close enough, I think. And that is it.
It looks a lot like car.
Oh, yeah.
And then something else. It looks really similar to something else. Car and something else. Let me see.
Yeah.
Thing. I'm thinking of thing.
Koto.
Koto. It looks a lot like koto, but like not.
Hi.
All right.
Hey, いいですか?
Iet.
Hey.
Gomen.
大丈夫?
I was looking something up, so I'm a little slow right now.
大丈夫.
This is to write. Got it. So it'd be kaku.
はい。kaku です。はい。
Interestingly, it looks a little bit like words or word. Whereas like to say.
Hi.
It does, but it doesn't.
Yeah, there are parts.
Okay.
Hi. Okay. Let me share my screen one more time because there is one more thing, which is the homework. Yay, homework. Okay.
Oh man, the name for homework starts with a she.
Shukudai.
Shi yoku dai. Okay.
Hi, shukudai, yes. Okay. So let's, if you have it, let's take a look at the workbook. So we have, let's see, there we are. Okay. So on page 78, it is again a conjugation table. Let's look at it. So we have, it says again, present tense, right? So non-past for our purposes. And okay, it says fill in the conjugation table below. Note that u verbs, and irregular verbs appear randomly on the sheet. That won't phase us, right? The example, we have eat, which is so, which just gives you the English, right? So eat, and then you're tasked to fill in the dictionary form, the short negative, right? The long, so the must form, affirmative, and then the te form. So for taberu, or for eat, right? Dictionary form, taberu, short negative, meaning short negative, or short form negative, right? Non-past, what we've been covering today. So it would be tabenai. Then the next column is long affirmative. You can see it's tabemas. So it's the must form, just affirmative, right? And then finally, we also have the te form, right? So for taberu, which is a ichidan doshi, that'll be tabete, right? And then there are 14 verbs to fill out. So we have open, buy, sit down, come, right? So we have our first irregular there. Die, turn off, study. Study again, benkyo suru, right? So still write in benkyo, but then also, of course, conjugate the suru, which is an irregular verb. Write, which we just learned. Feel free to use the kanji for the ka, right? There is a thing, so that would be, of course, aru, right? Drink, understand, right? Understand, let's use wakaru, right? Because shiru means to get to know. There's often a confusion between those. So understand, wakaru. Then we have wait, play. For play, I know we actually use it more like to play tennis, to play games, right? So for that we use suru, but for here play, let's just use asobu, right? The way Genki presents it, and to hurry as well. So that's page 78. For page 79, just Roman numeral 1 and only the first 4 exercises. So do you often ride a bus, right? Do you speak Japanese every day? Do you have homework today, right? And will you go out this weekend? So let's use only that, because, for example, are you free tomorrow, which is number 5, right? Are you free tomorrow would be free hima. And that, of course, we haven't really covered the short form yet, and so on and so on. So let's just focus on those few things. I'm gonna stop my screen share for now. I did notice it is a little bit earlier. So if it's fine with you, we can either end early today, but I'm also available to you if you have any questions or
I have questions. Are we still recording?
Okay.
So
do you want me to pause?
It doesn't matter. I mean, you can also cut. You can
Yeah.
also cut this for YouTube. It's up to you.
Okay, I'm just gonna